Howdy, it's Dr. Big Ed, your pedal shrink. What, you say? I'm a doctor? You're damn right I'm a doctor. I have a certificate, okay? See this? Look at that. That's legit, man. Let me tell you what it says. It says, the state of New Gear. That's a fine state, by the way. I didn't grow up there, but I got there as soon as I could. State Board of Examiners hereby authorizes and licenses Dr. Ed Pedalman Pedersen as a licensed pedal shrink to practice advice concerning the procurement and rational use of guitar pedals, gear, and effects pursuant to Chapter 11 of the Experimental Musicians Union. You didn't know that existed, did you? And acts amendatory thereof and supplemental thereof, given under the hands and seal of the state of New Gear. This date, the first day of April, AD 2020. Signed by Gary Hall, the Dean of DeLay, Thomas Cram, Doctor of Wingnuts. He is the Doctor of Wingnuts. And the President of the University, Dr. Edward Spaceman. Dr. Spaceman. Dr. Spaceman to some of you. Okay. So there you go. There's my diploma. So let's talk about some stuff. This week it was kind of interesting. I decided to start doing this because, as most of you know, nobody's owned more pedals than Big Ed, except maybe my buddy Henry Kaiser, who has 163 fuzzes. I don't have 163 fuzzes, but you all know, my friends know, I've bought a lot of pedals. I've owned a lot of pedals. I've tried a lot of them. I'd like to take some of that expertise, some of those mistakes, some of those triumphs, and pass it along to you. Why? To save you money and time, because it's a frickin' nightmare. It's a pain in the ass. You don't wanna. You don't wanna. It's a lot of effort. So let's talk about this. First thing we gotta talk about is, what are you trying to achieve? I've had a lot of questions this week. I got this new hologram effects microcosm. And I got a ton of questions online about, is it going to replace this? Can it do this? Can I get rid of this? Can it fit in with, can I make it do? Okay. Nothing replaces everything. That's lesson number one. Been there, done that, sold things, regretted it. We've all done that, right? Right. Don't do it, you know. Research things carefully before you buy. Reach out to dopes like me and Henry Kaiser, and there's a bunch of us that do this sort of idiotic stuff. We're here to help. I mean, that's what this is about. So do your research. Point in hand. This weekend, because I actually took a day off for a change, I usually work constantly in the studio, I decided, I don't know why, I got obsessed about Deluxe Memory Mans. I think I share that with a lot of you, right? So I spent 10 freaking hours researching Deluxe Memory Mans. Now, the original big box one, the analog modded big box one, sounds amazing. They're expensive. They're at least, I mean, the big box one, I looked at a few online. They're like $4 something, between $400 and $500 before the mods. And then you throw another couple hundred of the mods. It's hard to find. I don't usually see the Analog Man modded ones already done for sale, but they sound glorious. They do. Okay. Let's just face that, number one. They sound amazing. However, they're big, they're expensive, 24 volts. So for 10 hours, I was looking at all these different clones and comparisons, and it was great. But you know what actually sounded the best to me at the end of that 10-hour quest? and it's not surprising really, the Diamond Memory Lane Junior. Oddly, not an analog pedal, even though the original is analog, right? It's a digital pedal, and it might have analog drive-through or analog modulation. There are quite a few clones that are analog through or analog modulation and digital delay. Here's the trick. So the Diamond guy, I don't know him. I've had his products before. They're fabulous. He's made the Memory Lane Junior, which I own. Memory Lane 2, which I owned, which is like the closest to the Deluxe Memory Man, many people think. They can't make it anymore because they can't get the chips, and it's a pain in the ass. The memory, so he knows. First of all, he's a real engineer. He or she, I'm sorry, I don't want to categorize. He or she is a real engineer. You can tell this person is not just, doesn't have just soldering skills and some rudimentary engineering knowledge. This is a real engineer. That's a big thing. And he or she has already done the Memory Lane 2, which was pretty close. But here's a little thing about the Memory Lane Junior. Smaller, 9-volt. Yeah, it's digital. You know what? After all those comparisons, it sounded the closest. It did. It's because the person building it understood what it was about the original, and in this case, because they built one, essentially, of their own, a model that they sold. They understood all the parameters and have ears to tune it to sound correct. So, Memory Lane Junior, after all that muss and fuss, now it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but after all that muss and fuss, it sounds the closest. So, what we're going to get to in this series is to try to save you from doing 10 hours of nonsense like that. And I want to try to save you from spending all your dough on pedals that you're going to lose money on when you put them back up on reverb. Come on. I'm a doctor. Listen to me, okay? Here's your prescription. Subscribe. Interact. Tell me what you want to talk about. Ask questions. I'm happy to help you. I've been doing this for 30 years. Got a lot of production experience. Got a lot of playing experience. Know way too much about pedals. You don't want to go to school to become a pedal doctor. It's really expensive, okay? So what we're going to talk about, here's what we're going to get at. Who are you, right? What type of musician are you? Are you a jazz musician? Are you a rock musician? Are you an ambient musician? I play a lot of ambient stuff, I'm told. Are you a country musician? Who are you? That's like the first path in this goal. And sometimes you'll be surprised what gear works for that. And you'll also be surprised how inexpensive it can be. You don't have to go cuckoo. Yes, there are companies that make specialized things like the Hologram Microcosm, like the Red Panda Tensor, like the Hexa Revolver, like the Montreal Assembly Count to 5. Okay? We're going to talk about those. But who are you? How do these effects apply? Second question we're going to get through on this series is, and this is why I want your feedback, what are you trying to achieve? You can be a country musician and do some kind of ambient, trippy, loopy things. I know a few of those that's freaking awesome, but how often do you use it? How will you use it? What parameters are important to you? This is what we need to get at, right? Because we're going to try to save you some dough. Maybe you just need one of these pedals, one of these specialty things. Reverbs. I'm obsessed with reverbs. I'm obsessed with reverbs. They're starting to get really, really good, but they all have different characteristics. So what is it that you want? If you're a country musician, You might just need a slapback delay in a room or a plate for a reverb, and that'll do you, right? If you're an ambient person or experimental music or even jazz, there's some other spatial requirements. And we're going to talk about that down the line too, of how to apply these things that I've discovered from programming a lot of these pedals, because I've gone deep. When I get a pedal now, man, I spend days with it, programming it if they have those available parameters, and a lot of them do, to get down to get what I want out of it. And I actually like those pedals the best. But yes, those can be expensive. So what are you trying to achieve? Before you spend this money, before you waste your time watching 10 hours of video, what do you want to achieve? So let's talk about that. So who are you? What do you want to achieve? How are you going to apply it? Is it going to be live? Is it going to be in the studio? Is you going to be just, you know, for yourself to share with your friends? Are you just going to make videos with things? This all matters because you have to consider all these things because how it translates. All right? All right. So remember, I threw away my diploma, but remember, I'm a pedal doctor, okay? I'm your pedal shrink. Listen to Big Ed. Don't spend money. Don't do stupid things. Right? Call your shrink when you have a problem. I'm here. All right? So we'll talk. All right. Talk to you soon.